Welcome to the ACE Project, brought to you by the Literacy.io team at Texas A&M University. I'm your host, Ashley Stack, also known as Captain Comprehension. We are so excited you'll be joining us on this reading journey and hope you and your child enjoy this time together. So get comfy, rev up your brains, and get ready to think, because we are ready to help you become a comprehension detective.
Hi, super readers. My name is Captain Comprehension, and I am here to guide you as you become a comprehension detective. Welcome to week 7 of our podcast. This week, we're reading the book Clark the Shark by Bruce Hale. Have you ever been so excited that you just can't control yourself? Today, we're going to read a story about a shark that has a problem because he gets a little too excited about everything. Let's read to find out how Clark the Shark figures out a way to solve his problems. Before we begin, let's go over some important vocabulary words. Our first word is munch. To munch something means to eat steadily and often audibly. That means out loud. A synonym or word that means the same might be chew, chomp, and eat. And an antonym or words that mean different would be spit, regurgitate, or starve. Here's a picture of some caterpillars that are munching on a leaf. Our second word is bellowed. Bellowed is to shout something with a deep, loud roar. Some synonyms or words that mean the same might be shout, yell, or roar. And some antonyms or words that mean the opposite would be whisper, murmur, or mumble. Here's an example of a moose bellowing. Our next word is rough. Something that is rough is difficult or unpleasant in nature. A synonym or word that means the same might be aggressive, tough, or harsh. And an antonym or word that means the opposite could be gentle, civilized, or graceful. Our last word is handle. To handle something means to put up with it. A synonym or word that means the same would be endure, tolerate, or accept. And some antonyms might be avoid, reject, or dodge. All right, it's time to stop your video and text POD07 to 866-903-2545. That'll kick off your texting survey for this week. Our first question is, which word is a synonym for bellowed? A. Yelled. B. Whispered. C. Spoke. D. Said. Our second question, which word is an antonym for rough? A. Aggressive. B. Tough. C. Unpleasant. D. Gentle. All right, detectives, it's time for us to read the story. Clark the Shark by Bruce Hale. Illustrated by Guy Francis. In all the wide blue seas, in all the wide blue world, the top school for fish was Theodore Roosterfish Elementary. And of all the fish at Theodore Roosterfish, the biggest and the strongest was Clark the Shark. Clark loved school, and he loved his teacher, Mrs. Inky Dink. He loved to play upsy-downsy and spin-a-majig with his friends. Clark loved his life. "School is awesome!" shouted Clark the Shark. "Less shouting, more reading," said Mrs. Inky Dink. "Lunchtime is sweet!" yelled Clark the Shark. "Munch your own lunch," said his best friend, Joey Mackerel. "Recess rocks!" bellowed Clark the Shark. "You are playing rough, Clark." Yes, Clark loved his life with all of his sharky heart, but he loved everything way too much. He was too loud, he was too wild. He was just too much shark for the other fish to handle. After a while, no one would play with Clark. No one ate lunch with him. No one sat with him at circle time. Even his best friend Joey Mackerel said, "Cool your jets, Clark. You're making me crazy." One day, Clark asked Mrs. Inky Dink, "What's wrong with everyone?" Mrs. Inky Dink patted his fin. Clark, sometimes you play too hard, you munch too hard, and gosh, you even help too hard. But life is so exciting, said Clark. There's a time and a place for everything, said Mrs. Inky Dink. And sometimes the rule is stay cool. At recess, Clark tried to stay cool, but he pushed the swing with too much zing. Sorry, said Clark. I forgot. Yikes! Cried Joey Mackerel. At lunch, Clark tried to stay cool, but everything smelled so good that he munched a bunch of lunches. Sorry, said Clark. I forgot. We're starving, said his friends. In class, Clark tried to stay cool, but a good book got him all shook up. Now, Clark, said Mrs. Inky Dink, this isn't the time or the place. Tell me, what's the rule? Stay cool, said Clark. Hey, that rhymes, he cried. Then Clark got a big idea in his sharky head. Maybe if I make a rhyme, I'll remember every time, he thought. The next day, he put his plan to work. In class, when lessons got exciting, Clark wanted to bounce up out of his seat. Instead, he told himself, when teacher's talking, don't go walking. And what do you know? It worked. Attaboy, Clark, said Mrs. Inky Dink. Clark smiled. Lessons are fun. At lunch, everything smelled so yummy. When Clark wanted to eat and never stop, he told himself, only munch your own lunch. And it worked again. Way to go, Clark, said his friends. Clark grinned. Lunch is fun. At playtime, Clark told himself, easy does it, that's the way. Then my friends will let me play. And playtime was fun. Once more, Clark loved his life. But then a shadow fell across the playground. A ginormous shadow with tentacles galore. It's a new kid and he looks scary, cried Joey Mackerel. Swim for your lives! The squid squashed the slide and it snapped off the swings. Oops, my bad, said the new kid. Wait, said Clark. He just wants to play. Let's find a way. And he swam at the new kid with all his might. Clark played harder than he ever had before. Upsy-downsy and spin-a-ma-jig. Why, he even made up a new game, Tail-wumpa-lumpus. Wow, that was fun, said the new kid breathlessly, and he settled down. If you want to come to school, you've got to stay cool, said Clark. That's right, Clark, said Mrs. Inky Dink, and thanks for taking care of our new classmate, Sid the Squid. Hooray for Clark the Shark! Everyone cheered. That night, Clark's mother asked, What did you learn at school, dear? There is a time and a place for everything, Clark said. Sometimes you stay cool. But sometimes a shark's gotta do what a shark's gotta do. All right, now we have to think, what is the text structure of Clark the Shark? Here are some of the clues that I heard. Clark was rough with his friends. He bellowed, and he munched a bunch of lunches. And then no one would play with him. Poor Clark. But he learned to stay cool, and there's a time and a place for everything. And then everyone cheered. So was there a problem? Was it solved? Do we know the cause of the problem? Or were there two things being compared? I want you to pause the video and text your answer for the text structure in now. Remember, you can always check your bookmark. Welcome back, detectives. The text structure for Clark the Shark is cause, problem, and solution. So now it's time to discuss the main idea of the story. Use the sentence stems, the cause is, the problem is, and the solution is, to write the main idea for the selection. When you're ready, go back to your texting survey and send it in to us. Okay, detectives, how did you do? Here's what I wrote. The cause of the problem is Clark the shark is too eager. The problem is Clark frightened his friends, and the solution is that Clark tried to make rhymes that helped to remind him to stay cool. Okay, it's time for us to answer a multiple choice main idea question. Remember, you're looking for the answer that contains the cause, the problem, and the solution. What is the best main idea for the selection? A. Clark the shark is too eager and frightens his friends at school. He makes up rhymes that help remind him to stay cool. B. Clark the shark is too eager. He shouts in his classroom, he eats his friends' lunches, and he plays too rough at recess. C. Clark's teacher told him he needed to stay cool, so he tries to make rhymes that help remind him to stay cool. D. Clark frightens his friends and they don't want to eat lunch with him or play with him. Pause your video and text your answer into the survey. You're doing excellent work this week, detectives. It's time for us to discuss the summary. Let's think back to our main idea. We said the cause of the problem is Clark the shark is too eager. The problem is Clark frightened his friends, and the solution is that Clark tried to make rhymes that helped remind him to stay cool. You're going to add some details to each part in order to create your own summary. When you're ready, go ahead and push play so you can check it with what I put. Hi, detectives. Here's the summary that I wrote for mine. The cause of the problem is Clark the shark is too eager. He loves his teacher and going to school. He just loves life. The problem is Clark frightened his friends. He plays too rough with his classmates, he shouts in his classroom, he eats his friend's lunch, and he is just too wild. The solution is that Clark tried to make rhymes that helped remind him to stay cool. He learns that there is a time and a place for everything, but it is important to stay cool. How did your summary compare to mine? I'm sure it was excellent. Okay, detectives, it's time for us to answer a multiple choice summary question. What is the best summary of the selection? A. When a new student, Sid the Squid, joins Clark the Shark's class, he helps Sid make friends by teaching him how to play nicely and stay cool. He shows him how to play fun games without hurting his classmates. Clark's classmates are all so proud that they cheer for Clark. B. Clark frightens his friends. He plays too rough, he shouts in the classroom, he eats his friends' lunches, and he is too wild. Then a new student joins his class, and Sid the Squid is just as wild as Clark. They have a lot in common because Sid plays hard too. C. Clark is one eager shark. He loves his teacher and going to school. Unfortunately, Clark frightens his friends. He plays too rough, shouts in the classroom, and eats his friends' lunches. Clark makes up rhymes to remind him to stay cool. D. Clark is one eager shark. He loves his teacher and going to school, and he loves playing with his friends. His favorite games are Upsy Downy and Spin-a-ma-jig. Being at lunch is so much fun. Sometimes he gets so excited he eats his friend's lunch. He loves life. Pause your video and go to the texting survey to answer the multiple choice summary question. We're almost there, detectives. It's time for us to infer. Okay, detectives. Now we need to make inferences about the text we just read. When we infer, we use the information we read and some information we already have in our brains to draw a conclusion. Why do Clark's friends stop playing with him? Based on the information in the selection, what can the reader tell about Clark's personality? Pause your video and discuss these questions with your adult. When you're ready, go ahead and play your video to answer the multiple choice questions. Why do Clark's friends stop playing with him? A. Clark's friends met someone new. B. Clark starts playing with Sid the Squid. C. Clark likes to play alone. D. Clark is too rough for them. Pause your video and answer the question now. Based on the information in the selection, what can the reader tell about Clark's personality? A. Clark is mean. B. Clark has a fun, happy personality. C. Clark gets upset easily. D. Clark only cares about his own feelings. Pause your video to answer the question. Thank you so much for joining us this week, Comprehension Detectives. I hope you enjoyed reading Clark the Shark. I cannot wait to join you again next week. Remember, we can all be super readers. This is Captain Comprehension, signing off.